11, verse number 50. Repeat. Tantalulam Tanagniva Tantalulam Sundenahantum Purarabhya Padyata Sundenahantum Purarabhya Padyata Tamulumulam Gopala Sunum Vidaram Jagadguru Chachara Satyo Tirushakshatambhakas Antu Adhyata Translation. Tam Krishna. Alumula fire. Gopala Sunu. Within or without. Here this is shown by the example of Bakasura. Chakshuram militam vina tasmai shri gurave namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sahajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sahadaitam Sahavaditam Bharijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitamscha Shri Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurati Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamani Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Jairacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Radha Govinda Maharaj, Shri Krishna Bhagavan Maharaj, Shri Radha, Shri Gaura Nitai, coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class. Should I do in English or French? Okay, so in the Bhagavad here, Srila Prabhupada is speaking of how Krishna is reciprocating with Bhaktasura and how Bhaktasura is experiencing the presence of Krishna within his mouth. And specifically cites this verse, Ye tamam prapadyante tamstatayam bhajamyaham from Bhagavad Gita. And so that we see there's both aspects here. There's Srila Prabhupada explains Krishna is soft as a lotus, his body is sweet than sugar cane. That's how Krishna presents in his actual form. But then there's Bhaktasura's experience because of his attitude and consciousness. Bhaktasura has a very different experience of that. So that's why Srila Prabhupada gives us this verse from the Bhagavad Gita. In this verse, it's the most famous one. Krishna explains that as someone surrenders unto me, I will reward them accordingly. It depends on the attitude of the person. Krishna will reciprocate in the same way. And in the Bhagavad Gita, especially not just in this verse, there's many verses where Krishna explains how he reciprocates, how he's going to interact with different people, those who surrender, those who are faithless, those who worship their gods, the devotees, the aspiring devotees, the unenlightened devotees. He explains all of that in the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna also explains, although he is not speaking directly as often, but we also have his devotees explaining in the Srimad Bhagavatam how Krishna is reciprocating with them in their lives, many prayers that the devotees offer to the Lord, in gratitude for explaining how much you gave me, how you took care of me, how you were with me in every situation. And also in the Bhagavatam we can just see through the practical lives of the devotees over there and the non-devotees also how Krishna is interacting with them. So I was thinking, speaking about this topic of reciprocation of the Lord, and it's a very complex subject in a sense because it's like trying to understand how Krishna functions and how he functions about this. So I don't want to go too much into that. But there's still some principles that we can try to understand and apply and see how this reciprocation is acting on a day-to-day basis. So I just having a look through the Bhagavad Gita to see how often does Krishna speak about reciprocation, how does he explain it, and how much does it come up the Bhagavad Gita. So I'm just looking through the whole Bhagavad Gita today, and there was about 15 verses that directly, where Krishna is directly speaking about reciprocation, about how according to the attitude of the devotee, what he will give or how he will act towards that. So it was very interesting to look at that. And there was two things that stood out to me while I was doing that. And the first thing is that all these verses, you can give some examples. So there's the one we already did. Bhaivihe shaguna bhaivi mamaya surateya mamevai prapadyante mayamitam tadantite. So Krishna is saying this one, this divine enemy of mine is very difficult to overcome, but one who surrenders me, I will deliver him from, he will cross beyond it without a doubt, without difficulty. And then, who always meditate on his transcendental form, who is absorbed in him, to them he preserves what they have and he carries what they lack. What else we have? Yeah. Tesham satatayuttanam brajatam priti purvakam Tadam Buddhi Gantam Yamamam Payantite. So again, this is another very famous verse where Krishna says again, those who are constantly worshipping me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So this is just a few examples. There are many more throughout the Bhagavad Gita. And so the first thing I noticed is, the structure, the way Krishna presents this is always the same. He says, for those who have these qualities, for those who have these attitudes, when I see that in a devotee, then I give them, I give them remembrance of me, or I give them the intelligence they need, or I bring them back to me, all these things. So first, you do this, my dear devotee, and then I will reciprocate with you. So you please take the first step. So that was an interesting aspect. And then the second thing, I noticed there's kind of different categories of surrender. Krishna brings attention to different aspects that what we need to do in order for him to reciprocate the way he's asking. So this first point, that how Krishna is presenting these verses. Sometimes we only look at the second part, or we tend to remember the promises the Lord is making to us and what he will give us and what we can achieve through devotional service. And we tend to focus on that. But we maybe forget to look at the part that we're supposed to do. And so I was hearing once somebody was speaking about like marriage counseling or something like that, and they were saying that often, in the scriptures there's places in the Srimad Bhagavatam, for example, that describe the duties of the man, the duties of the husband, and the duties of the wife. And they were saying that what often happens is the man will be looking at the wife's duties and making sure that, trying to compare his wife to the standard in the Bhagavatam and say, hey, look, the Bhagavatam says you should be more like this and more like this. And the wife is looking at the duties of the husband and thinking, why is my husband not more like this, or doesn't he act in a certain way? But they were saying that's like the root of the problem of all conflicts, is that we're looking what the other person is supposed to be giving to me, instead of how I'm supposed to behave, what I'm supposed to be giving. And so with Krishna, sometimes we tend to do the same thing, is that we see, okay, well, I'm being promised so many things if I follow this path of devotional service, but where is it? I haven't got it yet, or it's more difficult than I thought. But again, we should turn towards, okay, well, what is my part in the relationship? Often it's said that we just say take one step toward Krishna, he will take 100 or 1,000. There's different numbers towards us. And actually, the reason why it's complicated to speak about reciprocation is that Krishna already has taken so many steps towards us. He is constantly making effort to reach out to us. So now it's our turn to make the effort to reciprocate with him. But we'll speak more about this a little bit later. And the second point, which was the different aspects that Krishna is bringing attention to. So in all these verses that I found in the Bhagavad Gita, I made a little table and tried to summarize what it was that Krishna was asking for in all these verses, and to see if there were categories, because otherwise we may think there's so many things that he is asking, how can I concentrate on all of those, or how can I give all of those? But actually there was quite that came up, and we could guess. It's quite obvious, but the different areas was Krishna's asking for body, because he's saying, perform all your actions for me, worship me, bow down to me, perform service, engage in service, do your work for me, offer the results of your work to me. These are all how to engage our body. There's also many verses where he's asking for our mind. Engage your mind. Also, sometimes he specifically speaks about intelligence and how we can worship him with our intelligence. But then, many times what he was asking for is the attitude and the consciousness. So, for example, in the verse Tadvidi Paripratina Pariprashaya Padikshanti Te Gyaninas Tadvadarshana, what Krishna is asking for is this submissive attitude, this attitude of inquiring. Also, sometimes he says, okay, worship me or remember me or serve me, but with love, with focused, sometimes he says focused mind. If you offer me a fruit, a flower, leaves, and water with devotion. So often he's bringing attitude. So there's all these levels. He's asking very clearly for us to engage our body, to engage our mind, our intelligence, but mainly our consciousness and the attitude. And of course, Krishna reciprocates proportionally to each devotee, so he knows, what each devotee can offer, and so it's different. So here we're seeing that for Bhaktasura, the experience of Krishna in his mouth was very bitter, even though Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna's body is sweeter than sugar candy. And so Bhaktasura has this enviable attitude towards Krishna, and so Krishna reciprocated with that. Sometimes we can think, okay, Srila Prabhupada is saying that Krishna's body is sweet, or devotional service is Kerala and eternally joyful, eternally. In Bhagavad again, Krishna says, Machita that devotees take pleasure conversing about me, serving me, remembering me, inspiring me. So there's all these very, very joyful, very encouraging, very rewarding promises. But maybe sometimes we're tasting what Bhaktasura is tasting. It's a little bit bitter, or we're not tasting anything. This is not very nourishing or stimulating, or when they feel lack of enthusiasm. And sometimes you can hear devotees saying that, well, Krishna is not reciprocating with me, or sometimes say, well, it's easy for you, you're enthusiastic or you're inspired, but I'm not getting anything. So the point we were making earlier, that how Krishna is presented. Sometimes, we look at what we're not getting, and we're not looking at what we are getting, and we're not looking either at what we are maybe not giving. Or we think, I'm giving so much and I'm not getting anything back. But this is, when we deserve something, we will only see what we're not getting, rather being grateful for what we are getting. There's this story of Daksha, and actually Lord Kapila in the third canto of Bhagavatam, material nature. And interestingly, just after that we have the fourth canto, and the first three stories of the fourth canto, they illustrate devotion in the modes. So the first story of Daksha shows devotional service in the mode of ignorance. And then the story of Dhruva Maharaj is next, and that reveals devotional service in the mode of passion. And then there's Prithu Maharaj, so that's devotional service in the mode of goodness. And so with Daksha, Daksha was a devotee, and he was doing lots of sacrifices and worship, and mixed in with his devotional activities. And so because of that pride and that envy in his heart, when he walked into that arena that he'd arranged for the sacrifice, and everybody stood up, but Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva didn't stand up, he didn't notice the hundreds of people who stood up and who were worshipping. He only saw, well, Brahma is his father, so he didn't mind, but Shiva, his son-in-law, he didn't stand up. He only saw that. He wasn't grateful for any of the situation. He just saw, I'm not getting the respect from this one person. So that is what, when we have pride and envy, we tend to focus on these things when we're not getting. But actually, as I was going through the Bhagavad Gita, this whole Bhagavad Gita, trying to see how much all these verses about reciprocation is practically at every word Krishna is promising that he will reciprocate. If we just make an effort, every word he's saying, if you just do this small thing, I will give you so much. Just take this one step towards me. And in one purport, I couldn't find where it was, but in one purport in the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada says that, I don't remember the exact words, but there was two strong words, that Krishna is constantly striving to bring the conditioned souls back to him. He's making so much effort. So the question is, not is Krishna reciprocating with me, or why is he not? But the question is, can I see? Am I seeing everything that he's doing for me or not? And so that's the main problem, because Krishna's promising everywhere in the scriptures, his devotees are promising us, just do this small thing, and Krishna will reciprocate. So the problem is that we are not seeing everything that he is doing. And Lordji just says, seek and you shall find. So if we're not trying to see that, if we're not looking out for Krishna's actions in our daily life, then we will not be able to see, and then we think we have nothing to be grateful for. But actually, at every moment, Krishna is reciprocating with us, and according to what our attitude is reciprocating with our sincerity or our insincerity, our attentiveness or inattentiveness, and everything else. And another aspect is we may not see the reciprocation, but also there's different forms it can take, and so reciprocation doesn't have to necessarily be an external thing or a big thing. It can be small things, it can be internal things. They may not look the way that we expect them. What Krishna does to reciprocate may not look the way we expect it to, or hope to get. We may ask for something and not get it, and we think, oh, Krishna is not reciprocating. But so that's like a limitation when we. And Srila Prabhupada so often says we should not see God as our order supplier, and only consider that he's reciprocating when he buys me the toy I want. There's much more subtle than that, and often I've heard also that the demigods may give you what you want, but Krishna will give you what you need, and so that may be different from what you want. And another aspect is so reciprocation sometimes is internal because it's spiritual reciprocation, it's not material reciprocation that we're looking for. And for example, if we feel enthusiasm for devotional service, that is a gift of Krishna, that is his reciprocation with us, maybe trying to be sincere, because enthusiasm is, I was speaking about enthusiasm, and it's from the Greek entheos, and it means to be possessed by God, so it means enthusiasm is a gift of Krishna, so that is reciprocation, so it's internal, and it maybe won't be seen from the outside. And so we can we can see that Prabhupada explains from Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita, this verse, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam, that Krishna is not interested in the thing we offer or the activities we may perform, but it's the devotion, the affection, the loving intention that he's looking for. And so if that's not there, it's not very interesting, and spiritually it doesn't have very much value. And Srila Prabhupada explains in a class about this, that the basic principle is an exchange of love. And he says that if we approach devotional service superficially and there is not this affection or desire to develop affection or devotion in our service, then Srila Prabhupada says, what is the point of having a personal philosophy? Because personal means reciprocation and exchange of love. So if there's not that, then what is the point of the personal philosophy? So I thought that was quite a strong point. It's like, well, God might as well be impersonal if we're not going to try and make that personal connection with him through our activities. So yeah, I thought that was a very strong point. And the final point on this topic of, is Krishna reciprocating with me, or why do I not see it? Another question is, well, am I really worthy of receiving what I'm aspiring for? Often as conditioned living entities, we have a tendency to take so many things for granted and think that we can dutifully expect things. But are we worthy of that? Are we attracting Krishna's kindness to us by our efforts, our attitude? Practically in the living in the material consciousness, we're ignoring him at every moment. So how can we expect to get so much if we're giving maybe not so much? So it's important to look at we focus on what we are giving or not giving, and try to improve that, increase that, because sometimes, we may not even be doing so much externally. Sometimes we are doing a lot externally, practically. But is there an internal activity? Is there internal awareness and consciousness? Are we really trying to please Krishna? Are we conscious of what we're doing and what we're trying to do, or not? There's Vaisheshika Prabhu was saying interesting things. Is that this is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, not the International Society for Krishna Activity. So it's quite a statement. Is we're trying to, devotional service for sure. I'm not saying we shouldn't do anything, but it should manifest externally as devotional service. But devotional means consciousness, means conscious awareness, and trying to cultivate that internal activity. So like we were saying in all these verses, Krishna is speaking about how to engage the body, the mind, the intelligence, because as conditioned souls we need to do something with our body, with our mind, with our senses. But most often what he was asking for was that focused attitude and that the consciousness, the attention. And so it's this kind of subtle aspect of devotional service, what's inside, that we need to cultivate. So we can ask ourselves, what am I giving? How much am I striving to be conscious? How much am I trying to please? And in every detail of our existence, we can be endeavoring enthusiastic. We can, if we're not feeling enthusiastic, as a service to show Krishna, I want to be enthusiastic for you, for your pleasure. I will, perform my devotional service with enthusiasm. I will chant in kirtan with enthusiasm every day with dedication, because it's about what I'm feeling. I want to make some little sacrifice for that, just as you can of yourself. we can look at what we are giving, what we are not giving. How we should never be satisfied with the effort making externally and internally, but always trying to give more. Because actually, if there's someone you really love or have a strong connection or attachment with, they do something for you, and then you feel so happy and you want to do something for them, but then they're even more happy and want to do more, and it's just more like that. So the more we can try to do little things for Krishna and attentive to what he's doing for us, then it's just increases and increases like that. And so like we've been saying, not the best gift, but one of the best gifts we can give, we've been seeing, is our attitude, is our attention, our internal attention. It's one thing we have out of the very little we have as conditioned souls. We don't have, but we could try to offer our attention. And the word attention is from the Latin attentium, and is an interesting definition. And etymologically, it's active direction of the mind towards a topic or object. So I thought this active direction is interesting. It is proactive. Being attentive is a constant effort, and it's a proactive vision. Every morning we recite the 10 offences, and we say it is also an offence to be inattentive or chanting. We say it very mechanically and just, okay, I'm but offence to be inattentive. So it's the nature of the mind, is the nature to be inattentive. Krishna it's impossible to control it. So that's the nature of the mind. So that we have this is not, we can't really help it. But are we setting ourselves up to be inattentive? Are we deliberately not making an effort to be attentive, or are we striving to be attentive? Krishna says every time your mind runs away, bring it back. Are you bringing it back, or are you just letting it be inattentive? So then the offense is not to be inattentive in the first place. It's like, how are we striving to not be inattentive? And sometimes we even create a situation where we will be inattentive because we're doing something else at the same time. We're already planning, okay, I'll do my japa, or I'll do my reading while I'm doing something else, or I don't know, there's so many ways to deliberately almost be inattentive, and it's a shame to do that, because Krishna is asking for our attention. So the least we can do is try to give it. Srila Prabhupada says, attention to detail. Attention and attention to detail is a sign of love, and all relationships begin with some kind of attention. So maybe being attentive is difficult for a conditioned entity on the mental platform, but we can try to be attentive, we can desire to be attentive, and with Krishna's help we can be attentive. We can't control our own mind, but if we please Krishna with our efforts, he will help us to be attentive. And actually, as devotees, we should be more attentive than anybody in what we're doing, because everything we do is an offering, or should be an offering to Krishna, because it's not just like some parts of our day or some of our activities. Okay, this is my devotional service, now I'm singing Mangalati for Krishna, so this is an offering. There's like every moment we should be doing that, offering all parts of ourselves. Once Srila Radha Swami Maharaj was giving our body as like an arti tray, as like puja paraphernalia. So even from the moment you wake up, when we're cleaning our body, when we're taking bath, brushing our teeth, all these things, like we're cleaning the arti plate. It's devotional service just as much if we have that consciousness. If we're striving to have that kind of attention. Of like, I want to make sure that every second I'm trying to offer myself and be engaged in Krishna's service. And bhakti, this kind of devotion is in the details. You know, from here, speakers talking about this. Keshav Maharaj talks about it a lot. But devotional service is in the details, because if we're Krishna conscious, we want to make everything as perfect as it can be for Krishna's pleasure. Like, for example, you know, if you're eating an orange and there's lots of pips in the orange, it's very unpleasant. And we're like, oh, why did they buy orange with pips? I wish they got the ones without pips, because it's unpleasant. You bite and then you've got a pip in your mouth and somehow have to get it out. So when we're making Krishna's fruit salad, we can take the pips out, so Krishna doesn't have to do it. Okay, the fruit salad is the requirement, but if you're thinking, okay, well, I wouldn't like to eat the pips and all the white thing from the inside of the skin, so why would Krishna have to eat that? Why would he have to take the pips out like that? So there's like tiny things we can do to show that I'm trying to be conscious. Or for example, you prepare the offering bowl and there's like sauce dripping off the side. We wouldn't give that to a guest in our home. We serve it and it's all sloppy and we wouldn't do that. So why would we do that for the deity? Sometimes we see, there's just a few examples like of deliberately very small things, but they can be very big things. If every morning you're cutting up the fruit, taking the pips out, thinking, I don't want Krishna to have to take them out, then maybe Krishna will be pleased with that attitude. And so this consciousness, it begins, we often hear with japa. It's the concentrated period of attention. Intention setting also, because we chant japa at the beginning of the day generally, is like, that is the time we can start making that connection. And you know, sometimes you start chanting 10 minutes and, oh yeah, I'm chanting. And we've just jumped into it without really thinking. Maybe, you know, we wake up in the morning and we pick up our beads, and from the very beginning we try to set an intention, make, you know, my Lord, thank you for giving another day where I can try and cultivate my devotion to you. I could try to please you. Please help me to be attentive. Please help me to be conscious today. Please help me do something that will bring pleasure to you. And if we start, because often it says like how you start is how you're going to finish. If you start quick, then you'll end quick. But if you start conscious, all the chance that we will do like that of the day. So I'll just finish on one story that I thought was interesting. It fits this point nicely. There was a man who was an architect, and he was working for a company for many years. And he wanted to retire because he was getting towards the age to retire. So he told his boss, you know, I'd like to retire now. And the boss said, oh, could you just do maybe another project? And he said, okay, I can do it. You know. So he does it really nicely. And then he said, okay, now I'd like to retire. And the boss said, oh, you're so good, you know, please stay, just do this one more project. And so he does it, but, you know, reluctantly, he still does it to the best of his ability. And just like 3 or 4 times, and then he's like, really, I want to retire, I'm going now, I'm not going to do anything more. And the boss like, please, 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 one more, just one more effort. And he says, okay, I'll do it. But this time he's tired, he finds, and he gets the material from the first shop, something quickly, and then he tells the boss, okay, it's done, now I'm leaving. And he said, did you the best plot? Did you really, you know, do it as nicely as you've done all your other projects? And he says, yeah, it's perfect, you know, I've done my best. And the boss says, oh, well, glad. You put so much effort into this last one because this last one we wanted to offer it to you as a gift for your, and then he's like, oh, I did the most sloppy job on this one because I couldn't be bothered to make the effort until the end. And so occasionally uses this example that the human life is like the culmination of our conditioned soul career, in a sense. It's like the culmination of all species. We're so close to Krishna consciousness, we're here, we've got everything. Let's not do a quick job like that, this is our retirement pay, or this is, the best thing we have to invest in. It's I can't remember where this was, but one of the acharyas in class, they were saying that, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says there's different people who approach him and different, some who don't approach him. And they were saying that how much was it? There's a person who approaches Krishna well, whatever, and then attraction to casual devotee who's engaged in Krishna consciousness but not serious. Is that actually the most unfortunate is the devotee who's not taking so far away. So, yeah. Brahmanda that we're wondering so long, lost in this world, and now we have the opportunity, so it's nice we can take it. Okay, thank you very much for listening.
Start with this. Not only that, but he says that whatever we do, he will keep our devotional creeper in some other, in one body or another, if we have to live in different bodies. So, obviously we realize how much Krishna has been affecting and just no motivation, no self-motivation.
Thank you. I was thinking about this topic that there's many things you can say that are pretty simple, but then it becomes very complicated in that level because we're not supposed to get reciprocation. It's a different nature. Yeah, thank you. Mantra, Srimad Bhagavatam.